Stop with the dramatic black woman act. People like you always exaggerate pain. The doctor cut the alarm off mid-scream, the warning flatlining under his thumb as if it had never existed. The woman on the bed arched. I can't feel my baby, she whispered, fingers slipping on the rail slick with sweat. He sighed, already turning away. You're not dying, you're anxious. Try behaving like an adult. Behind her stood a man, shoulders rigid, eyes locked on the doctor's back. The doctor never noticed what that quiet man carried, or that every word he'd just spoken was about to cost him everything. Before continuing, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you can't miss. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across the emergency room as Aisha Thompson gripped her husband's hand, her face twisted in pain. The midnight hour stretched endless in the sterile hallway. Their world narrowed to the steady beep of monitors and the sharp catch of her breath. Something's wrong, Jamal, Aisha whispered, her other hand pressed against her swollen belly. This isn't normal contractions. It feels like tearing inside. Jamal Thompson maintained his composed demeanor, though his jaw tightened as he watched his wife struggle. 8 months pregnant, Aisha had been glowing just yesterday. Now her warm brown skin had taken on an ashen cast, sweat beading on her forehead. Nurse Maria Ruiz pushed the wheelchair with efficiency, her experienced hands steady. Blood pressure is climbing, she noted, glancing at the portable monitor. We need to get her assessed right away. Please, Jamal said, his voice deliberately measured. My wife needs immediate attention. These symptoms came on suddenly. And now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Doctor, Reginald Thornton's voice cut through the air like a blade wrapped in silk. He approached with unhurried steps, barely glancing at the patient chart in his hands. Mrs. Thompson, is it? First pregnancy jitters are perfectly normal. Aisha shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. No, doctor, I've read everything about normal labor. This is different. It's like something's ripping. Anxiety often manifests as physical symptoms. Thornton interrupted, his smile never reaching his eyes, especially in certain populations who may not be as familiar with proper prenatal care. Jamal felt his fingers twitch, but kept his voice steady. Doctor, we've followed every recommendation. My wife has had excellent prenatal care. Something is wrong. Nurse Ruiz stepped forward. Dr. Thornton, her BP is 160/95 and rising. Maybe we should thank you, Nurse Ruiz. Thornton's tone dropped several degrees. I believe I can assess my own patient. He turned back to Aisha. We'll get you settled in the hallway for observation. No need to tie up a room just yet. The clicking of heels announced Victoria Langford's arrival. The hospital administrator's perfectly styled hair and pressed suit looked out of place at midnight. Dr. Thornton, I trust everything is under control. We need to maintain our excellent emergency response metrics. Just a nervous mother-to-be, Thornton assured her. Nothing that warrants disrupting our protocols. Jamal watched as they wheeled Aisha to a spot against the wall underneath flickering fluorescent lights. A thin curtain provided the barest pretense of privacy. His FBI training screamed at him to take control, to demand action, to protect his wife. But years of experience had taught him harsh lessons about how quickly a black man's concern became threatening behavior in places like this. Sir, Nurse Ruiz whispered as she adjusted Aisha's IV. I'll keep an eye on her. Try to stay calm. Aisha's grip on Jamal's hand tightened as another wave of pain hit. Baby, she gasped. I can't. Something's really wrong. I can feel it. I'm right here, Jamal assured her, his thumb stroking the back of her hand. He watched the fetal monitor numbers climbing, his stomach knotting as Aisha's face contorted in agony. Dr. Thornton passed by, barely pausing. The wait time for imaging is backed up. We'll reassess in an hour or two. An hour. Jamal struggled to keep his voice level. Her pain is getting worse by the minute. Mr. Thompson. Thornton's tone dripped with condescension. I understand you're concerned, but your wife's dramatic reaction isn't helping anyone. Perhaps you could encourage her to stay calm. Nurse Ruiz appeared again, her face tight with worry as she checked Aisha's vitals. Doctor, her pressure's still climbing. Shouldn't we at least, unless you've suddenly acquired a medical degree, Nurse Ruiz, please stick to your assigned duties. Thornton cut her off without looking up from his phone. Jamal felt Aisha's hand go slack in his. Her eyes had grown glassy, unfocused. The monitor's beeping became more erratic. "She's not being dramatic," Jamal said, his carefully maintained control cracking. "Something is seriously wrong. Please, Mr. Thompson." Victoria Langford stepped in, her professional smile fixed in place. "Dr. Thornton is one of our most experienced physicians. Let's trust his judgment and avoid any unfortunate situations." The threat was subtle but clear. Jamal saw the security guard shift closer, hand resting on his radio. One wrong move, one raised voice, and he'd be labeled the angry black man, removed from his wife's side when she needed him most. Aisha's whisper drew his attention back. "Jamal, I can't feel the baby moving anymore." The fetal monitor's steady rhythm suddenly spiked, its alarm beginning to pulse with increasing urgency. Jamal looked desperately toward the nurse's station, but no one moved with any sense of emergency. Then, as suddenly as it started, the alarm went silent. Jamal stared at the monitor in confusion. The warning lights had disappeared, but Aisha's grip on his hand had gone terrifyingly weak. "Why did it stop?" he asked, his voice barely controlled. "The alarm, why did it just?" But Nurse Ruiz's face had gone pale as she looked at the monitor, and Jamal felt the first real stab of fear pierce his practiced calm. The scream tore through the hallway like shattered glass. Aisha's body arched off the bed, monitors exploding into a chaos of alarms and flashing lights. Her blood pressure numbers spiraled downward as her pulse raced dangerously high. "Code Blue, we need help here." Nurse Ruiz slammed her palm against the emergency call button. Her other hand flew across the equipment, trying to stabilize the readings that were spinning out of control. Dr. Thornton sauntered over, his face a mask of irritation. With one smooth motion, he reached past Maria and silenced the shrieking alarms. "These readings are clearly false. The equipment in the hallway can be unreliable." "False." Jamal grabbed the doctor's arm, his careful restraint finally cracking. "Look at her. She's dying." "Remove your hand," Thornton said icily. "Security. She needs imaging now," Jamal insisted, releasing the doctor's arm, but planting himself firmly between Thornton and the exit. "Get a surgeon down here. Something's torn inside her, Mr. Thompson." Thornton's voice dripped with disdain. "Your emotional state is not helping. Perhaps you should step outside and let the professionals work." "Professional?" Jamal's voice shook. "You haven't done a single thing to help her." Aisha's body jerked again, her eyes rolling back as her oxygen levels plummeted. The monitors Thornton hadn't silenced screamed their warning. A young resident in rumpled scrubs rushed over, his face pale. "Dr. Thornton, her stats are critically low. Should I call for Dr. Chen?" Thornton cut him off. "Are you questioning my assessment of this situation?" The resident's mouth opened and closed, his eyes darting between Aisha's convulsing form and his superior's cold stare. "No, sir, but protocol states, I am the protocol in this department." Thornton's words fell like ice. "Stand down." Nurse Ruiz's hands flew over Aisha's body, trying to stabilize her. "She's hemorrhaging. Doctor, please. This is what happens when we let hysteria override medical judgment." Thornton made a show of checking his watch. "If you're all quite finished." Aisha's body went rigid, blood beginning to soak through the thin hospital sheet. The resident took half a step forward, then froze as Thornton's glare pinned him in place. "Do something," Jamal roared, his composure finally shattering. "She's bleeding out." Security guards appeared at both ends of the hallway, hands on their radios. Victoria Langford materialized beside them, her professional smile strained. "Mr. Thompson, please lower your voice. This is a hospital. It's a slaughterhouse." Nurse Ruiz snapped, her hands pressed against Aisha's stomach. "Doctor, she needs surgery now." Blood pressure numbers crashed lower. Aisha's eyes fluttered, her grip on Jamal's hand going slack. The resident looked ready to vomit, trapped between training and terror. "Fine." Thornton finally waved a dismissive hand. "Call it in, but note my objection to this overreaction in the chart." The next moments dissolved into chaos. A trauma team rushed in shouting orders. The resident found his courage too late, barking for blood products in an operating room. Nurse Ruiz rattled off stats as they wheeled Aisha away, her voice tight with fury and fear. Jamal tried to follow, but security blocked his path. Through the gaps between their bodies, He watched the team racing his wife down the corridor, blood dripping onto pristine floor tiles. Time stretched like pulled taffy. Minutes or hours later, Jamal couldn't tell. The resident emerged from the operating room. His scrubs were stained dark red. His young face aged decades in a single night. The baby, he swallowed hard. We got her out. She's critical, but stable. Jamal felt hope flutter weakly. And my wife. The resident's eyes filled with tears. He shook his head once. The world stopped turning. Sound became distant, muffled, as if Jamal were underwater. Through the haze, he saw Dr. Thornton at the nurse's station, calmly dictating notes. Patient presented with anxiety symptoms, declined rapidly despite appropriate interventions. Complications arose unexpectedly. Death was unavoidable given patient presentation and circumstances. Jamal lunged forward. A sound like a wounded animal tearing from his throat. Security caught him before he could reach Thornton, muscled arms pinning him against the wall. "Sir, calm down or we'll have to remove you," one guard warned. "My wife is dead," Jamal's voice cracked. "He killed her. He just stood there and killed her. Now, Mr. Thompson." Thornton straightened his white coat, not even looking up from his charts. These situations are always tragic, but histrionics won't change the medical reality. Perhaps if she'd been more compliant with prenatal care. "You son of a," Jamal struggled against the guard's grip. "Remove him," Victoria Langford ordered. "And call the police if necessary. We can't have this kind of disruption." The guards began dragging Jamal toward the exit. He stopped fighting, his body suddenly heavy with grief and rage and something darker growing beneath it all. With careful movements, he reached for his wallet. The guards tensed, probably expecting him to pull out a phone to record them. But what Jamal withdrew was something else entirely. A black leather credential case falling open to reveal a golden badge and the letters FBI gleaming under the fluorescent lights. The stairwell door slammed behind Jamal, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the confined space. Dr. Thornton stood halfway up the stairs, one hand on the railing caught in midstride. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across his face as he turned. "Excuse me, I have patience to." Thornton's words died in his throat as Jamal held up his FBI credentials. "Special Agent Jamal Thompson, Federal Bureau of Investigation." His voice was steel wrapped in silk. "We need to discuss what just happened to my wife." The color drained from Thornton's face, his usual mask of authority cracking. He took a half step backward, bumping against the railing. I followed all standard protocols. Everything was documented. Who silenced the fetal monitor? Jamal climbed one step, then another, each footfall deliberate. Those alarms were working fine until someone manually shut them off. That's a serious accusation." Thornton's hand trembled slightly on the railing. "I acted within established medical guidelines. Any suggestion otherwise? Answer the question, doctor." Jamal kept his distance, hands loose at his sides. He didn't need to touch or threaten. His presence alone filled the stairwell like smoke. Who made the decision to ignore those warnings? Sweat beaded on Thornton's forehead. "I'll need to consult with legal counsel before discussing specific treatment decisions. Hospital policy clearly states hospital policy." Jamal's laugh held no humor. "My wife begged you for help. The nurse begged you. Even your resident knew something was wrong. But you chose to let her suffer. You're emotionally compromised." Thornton tried to rally his usual condescension, but his voice wavered. "These situations are always difficult for family members to process, rationally." "What I'm processing," Jamal cut in, "is how many other women you've killed this way. How many other unavoidable complications you've buried in paperwork." The stairwell door burst open. Victoria Langford strode in, her heels clicking sharply on the concrete steps. "Dr. Thornton, you're needed in labor and delivery." She positioned herself between them, a human shield in an expensive suit. "Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry, Agent Thompson. This is neither the time nor place for confrontation. There's never a right time to discuss dead black mothers in your hospital, is there, Ms. Langford?" Jamal didn't move, just NDAs and settlements and carefully worded press releases. "I understand you're grieving," she said, her professional smile firmly in place. "But making scenes won't bring her back. Perhaps we should schedule a meeting with our patient advocacy team to negotiate my silence." Jamal's eyes never left Thornton. How much is a dead wife worth in your risk management calculations? 2 security guards appeared in the doorway, summoned by some silent signal. Langford's smile didn't waver. Please escort Agent Thompson to the ground floor. He needs time to process his loss. This isn't over, Jamal said quietly. It is for now. Langford guided Thornton toward the upper door. Don't make this worse than it needs to be. The guards moved forward, but before they could reach him, Nurse Ruiz slipped through the gap between them. She pressed a folded piece of paper into Jamal's hand, her eyes fierce with purpose. I'm sorry, she whispered. So sorry. Jamal felt the paper's edges bite into his palm as the guards firmly gripped his arms. They didn't rough him up. His credentials prevented that, but their message was clear. Leave or be removed. He allowed them to guide him down the stairs, his mind already cataloging details, building the framework of an investigation. The paper in his hand felt like a key, though to what door he didn't yet know. His phone vibrated as they reached the ground floor. The caller ID displayed Sackroth Thompson. His supervisor's voice was tight with concern. I just got a call from hospital administration. What the hell are you doing? My wife died, Emily. Jamal stood in the lobby, watching Thornton and Langford hurry past on an upper walkway. They let her die, I know. Her tone softened slightly. And I'm sorry, but you can't investigate this. The hell I can't. You're too close. This is a clear conflict of interest. Someone needs to look into. Stand down, Jamal. Steele entered her voice. That's an order. Don't make me put you on leave. The line went dead. Jamal stared at his phone, feeling the walls closing in. The system was already moving to protect itself, to bury this death like all the others. A nurse wheeled a clear bassinet past him toward the elevators, likely headed to the maternity ward. Inside, a tiny form squirmed under soft blankets. His daughter alive because a resident finally found his courage. Too late to save Aisha, but in time to save their child. Jamal fell into step beside the nurse, his badge ensuring no one questioned his presence. The elevator ride was silent except for the soft sounds of newborn breathing. The maternity ward was a study in cruel contrast, bright colors and cheerful murals. The walls lined with photos of happy families, proud parents holding their babies, couples sharing tearful first moments, moments Aisha would never have. The nurse helped him settle into a rocking chair and placed his daughter in his arms. She was perfect. Tiny fingers, dark curls, her mother's nose. She made small mewing sounds as she nestled against his chest. Jamal held her close, breathing in that new baby smell, letting tears fall silently onto her blanket. In his pocket, Nurse Ruiz's paper waited like a lit fuse. On the wall, a security camera watched with its unblinking eye. I'm here, he whispered to his daughter. Daddy's here, but Aisha wasn't, and someone would answer for that. Dawn crept through Jamal's kitchen windows, painting gray shadows across the linoleum floor. The baby's cries pierced the morning silence, echoing from the nursery monitor. His daughter needed him, but for a moment he couldn't move. His eyes were fixed on Aisha's yellow running shoes by the door, perfectly aligned, waiting for feet that would never fill them again. The baby's wails grew more insistent. Jamal pushed himself up from the kitchen table, his joints stiff from sitting all night. The discharge papers from the hospital were spread across the wooden surface. Each page a mockery of what happened. They shouldn't exist. No one should be discharged after dying. But here they were, delivered to his doorstep in a manila envelope. I'm coming, baby girl, he called softly, heading to the nursery. The room still smelled of fresh paint and new furniture. Aisha had insisted on doing it herself, even 8 months pregnant. Your daughter needs a room filled with love, she'd said. Not hired hands. He lifted his daughter from the crib, cradling her against his chest. There you go, sweet pea. Daddy's got you. The words felt hollow without Aisha's gentle harmony beside him. He changed her diaper, warmed a bottle, and settled into the rocking chair Aisha had picked out. His phone buzzed while he was feeding the baby. An email from Victoria Langford's office. Timestamp 5:47 a.m. The subject line read, Confidential Settlement Proposal. Time-sensitive. They sure move fast when they're scared, he muttered to his daughter. She blinked up at him, tiny hands wrapped around the bottle. Back at the kitchen table, baby dozing in her swing, Jamal spread the discharge papers out again. The timeline wasn't adding up. According to these documents, the fetal monitor showed normal readings until 12:45 a.m., but Jamal remembered the alarms going off well before midnight. The nursing notes mentioned routine checks during periods when Aisha had been screaming in pain. Someone had sanitized these records, carefully editing out the evidence of neglect. But they'd made mistakes. The timestamps on medication orders didn't match the electronic system logs. Notes appeared chronologically impossible. Treatments documented before symptoms were recorded. A heavy knock at the door startled him. Through the peephole, he saw Detective Frank Donovan on his porch, looking casual in plain clothes with a paper coffee cup in hand. Jamal opened the door, but blocked the entrance. "Detective, it's early. Just checking in." Donovan's smile was practiced, reasonable. "Heard there was some excitement at the hospital last night. Thought we should talk, keep things from escalating." "Nothing to talk about. My wife died because a doctor ignored her symptoms." "Look," Donovan's voice dropped, friendly but firm. "I get it, you're hurting. But drive. Thornton's got a 30-year record of excellence. These things happen sometimes, especially with high-risk pregnancies. Best thing for everyone is to accept reality and let the healing start." "Is that what you tell all the families of his victims?" Donovan's smile tightened. "Careful, Agent Thompson. Grief's one thing, but accusations like that can cause problems for everyone." Behind them, the TV news anchor's voice drifted from Jamal's kitchen. "Respected obstetrician Drive, Reginald Thornton expressed deep sadness today over the loss of a patient during childbirth." They both turned to watch. Thornton stood at a podium, his face a mask of practiced concern. "While we can't discuss specific cases, it's important to understand that complications can arise, particularly in patients with pre-existing risk factors." Son of a Jamal breathed. "He's blaming her. Take the settlement," Donovan advised. "Go be a father to your little girl. Some doors once opened don't close so easy." After Donovan left, Jamal turned his dining room wall into a timeline. Sticky notes marked every interaction, every delayed response, every dismissed warning sign. Red string connected key moments. Aisha's first complaint of pain at 11:17 p.m. Maria's request for imaging at 11:42 p.m. Thornton's repeated delays until the final crash at 12:53 a.m. His phone buzzed with a text from Maria. "Check your email, sending something important. Delete after reading." The email contained scanned pages from old patient files. 2 cases, both black mothers, both died under Thornton's care in the past year. The patterns were identical: symptoms dismissed, care delayed, alarms ignored until too late. Jamal added their names to his wall. More red string, more connections. He took out his phone again, scrolling to a number he rarely used. Assistant U.S. Attorney Sofia Ramirez answered on the third ring. "It's Thompson," he said quietly. "I need a meeting off the books. I heard about your wife." Ramirez's voice was careful, measured. "I'm sorry, Jamal. Can you meet?" A pause. "The diner on 4th. 1 hour." "But Jamal, if this is what I think it is, there are proper channels." "Channels protect the powerful." He looked at his wall of evidence. "This needs to be different." After hanging up, Jamal stood before his timeline. The pattern was clear now. Not just negligence or bias, but something colder, more deliberate. Each death followed the same choreography of delay and denial. Each victim fit the same profile. He uncapped a marker and wrote one word at the top of the board. Intent. The baby stirred in her swing, making small sounds of hunger or loneliness. Jamal lifted her, breathing in her sweet newborn scent. "I promise," he whispered. Against her soft hair. "They won't bury this one. Not this time." The fluorescent lights in the hospital records office buzzed overhead as Jamal and a USA Sofia Ramirez sat at a cramped desk surrounded by stacks of medical files. The room smelled of old paper and industrial cleaner. "Let me be clear," Ramirez said, her voice low and stern. "We do this by the book. No cowboy moves, no breaking rules. One wrong step in any case we build falls apart." "I understand." Jamal kept his voice steady, though his fingers twitched as he flipped through access logs. "Do you?" Ramirez leaned forward. "Because grief makes people reckless, and reckless gets cases thrown out." Jamal was about to respond when something caught his eye. He pulled up the electronic access timestamps for Aisha's chart. Look at this. Multiple edits at 1:47 a.m. Less than an hour after she died. Ramirez adjusted her reading glasses. Could be routine documentation at that hour by IT services. Jamal pointed to the user ID. Why would tech support need access right after a death? They dug deeper into the logs. Changes, deletions, entire sections rewritten, all in those crucial early morning hours when grief had kept Jamal from thinking like an agent. Someone cleaned this up fast, Ramirez muttered. Too fast to be standard procedure. A shadow passed the frosted glass door. Jamal tensed, but it moved on. We need to go, he said quietly. We've been here too long. They gathered their notes and headed for the parking garage. The afternoon sun cast long shadows between the concrete pillars. Their footsteps echoed in the empty space. Agent Thompson, a sharp voice called out. 2 hospital security guards stepped from behind a support column. Both wore dark uniforms with tactical vests. Overkill for hospital security. Can I help you? Jamal kept his voice neutral. Beside him, Ramirez gripped her briefcase tighter. Need you to come with us. The larger guard said, Ms. Langford wants to discuss your unauthorized access to medical records. I have proper clearance. Jamal shifted his weight slightly, reading their positions. Any concerns can be addressed through official channels. The second guard moved to flank them. This isn't a request. A USA Ramirez, Jamal said calmly. Please return to your car. Jamal, now please. Ramirez hesitated, then walked quickly toward her vehicle. The guards let her pass. Last chance, the first guard said. Come quietly. I'm a federal agent, Jamal stated. You're interfering with an investigation. The guard's response was a hard shove that sent Jamal stumbling back. But Jamal had been ready. He rolled with the push, using the momentum to spin inside the guard's reach. His elbow found the man's solar plexus with precise force. As the guard doubled over, Jamal trapped his extended arm and redirected him face first into the concrete pillar. The second guard rushed in. Jamal dropped low, sweeping the man's legs. They hit the ground together. The guard was bigger, stronger, but Jamal had years of training. He locked the man's arm in a control hold, applying pressure until the guard went limp. The whole thing took less than 20 seconds. Both guards were down, conscious, but disabled. No permanent damage, no excessive force, clean and contained. Something clattered across the floor, a plastic ID badge that had fallen from the first guard's pocket. Jamal picked it up. It was a contractor badge for MediaTek IT services. Jesus Christ, Jamal. Ramirez hurried back, her heels clicking on concrete. What did you do? Defended myself. He held up the badge. Look familiar. Same contractor ID as the system access logs. You can't. She stopped, staring at the badge. Why would hospital it be working as security? Because they're not it. Jamal stood, straightening his jacket. They're fixers, brought in to clean up messes, digital and physical. Agent Thompson. The sharp voice of Sace Emily Roth cut through the garage. She strode toward them, 2 FBI agents flanking her. Her face was carved from stone. Stand down immediately. Ma'am, your badge. She held out her hand. Now, these men assaulted a federal agent, Ramirez interjected. That's a serious what I see, Roth cut her off. Is an emotionally compromised agent who attacked hospital security after accessing restricted files without authorization. She turned to Jamal. Badge and credentials. You're suspended pending review. Jamal removed his badge and ID, placed them in Roth's outstretched hand. His fingers felt cold. Clear out your desk by end of day, Roth ordered. And stay away from this hospital. Later that afternoon, Jamal sat in his home office staring at his empty badge holder. His phone buzzed. A text from Nurse Maria. Monitor alarms require manual override, 2-step process, can't be accidental. He added it to his wall of evidence, connecting it to the contractor badge and access logs. The pattern was becoming clearer. Someone had built a system for making deaths disappear. Not just covering them up afterward, but ensuring they happened in the first place. Jamal opened his desk drawer and placed his empty badge holder inside. The drawer closed with a soft click. He stood looking at his timeline wall. They'd taken his badge, his authority, his official power to investigate, but they hadn't taken his training, his knowledge, his determination to expose the truth. And they hadn't taken his pain. Jamal picked up his phone and began dialing numbers. He had other resources, other angles, other ways to build a case. They thought taking his badge would stop him. They were wrong. It just meant he no longer had to play by their rules. Morning sunlight streamed through the grimy windows of Pete's diner, casting long shadows across the cracked vinyl booth. Sat with his back to the wall, watching the door while pretending to study the laminated menu. His coffee grew cold, untouched. The bell above the door chimed. A middle-aged black couple entered the hallways. The woman's eyes were tired. The man's shoulders hunched with a familiar weight. Jamal recognized the look of parents who'd buried a child. Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins. Jamal stood, extending his hand. "Thank you for meeting me. Call me Tyrone, Mr. Jenkins said, sliding into the booth. His wife Keisha settled beside him, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "Our daughter Maya," Keisha began, then stopped, swallowing hard. She was 24, first baby. The waitress approached, but Jamal waved her away with a gentle smile. He pulled out a small notebook, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. "Tell me about the day you took her to the hospital," he said softly. Tyrone's jaw tightened. She was having pain, bad pain, not normal contractions. "We got there around 9:00 p.m. They made us wait." "Dr. Thornton?" Jamal asked. Keisha nodded, kept saying she was overreacting. "Called it anxiety. Said young mothers often," her voice cracked, "often exaggerate their symptoms." His exact words. Jamal pressed gently, like they were scripted. Tyrone growled, talked down to her like she was stupid. Kept saying everything was perfectly normal and we needed to trust the process. Jamal's pen moved steadily across the page. "What happened when things got worse?" Keisha's fingers twisted together. The nurse, she knew something was wrong, kept checking the monitors, but Thornton wouldn't listen. Said Maya needed to calm down and stop being dramatic. "He put us in a hallway," Tyrone continued, his voice hollow. "Said all the delivery rooms were full, but we saw empty ones. We saw," he broke off, pressing his fist to his mouth. "By the time they finally moved her," Keisha whispered, "it was too late. They said it was a known complication that sometimes these things just happen." Jamal's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Need to talk. Billing irregularities. Not safe on phone." Below it, an email address signed PS. He turned back to the Jenkins. "Did they offer you a settlement?" Tyrone nodded grimly. Next day, papers full of big words. Said signing would honor Maya's memory. "Did you sign?" "Didn't have a choice," Keisha whispered. "The funeral costs." Jamal's pen paused. "Did Detective Donovan visit you?" They both stiffened. "How did you?" Tyrone started. "Told us to be reasonable." Keisha cut in. "Said fighting would only hurt more families like us." Jamal added the details to his growing map of connections. The pattern was getting clearer. Identify vulnerable patients, delay care, document complications, quick settlements, police pressure. A machine built to turn deaths into statistics. His phone buzzed again. An email from Anika Patel marked urgent. Found billing codes pattern of risk management classifications. Disproportionate outcomes. Need secure meeting. The diner's bell chimed. Two men in dark jackets entered, scanning the room. Jamal recognized the predatory posture of hired muscle. "We should wrap up," he said quietly. "Different exits. Don't look back." The Jenkins slipped out the side door while Jamal left cash on the table. He exited through the kitchen, nodding thanks to the cook who'd been watching the scene unfold. That evening, Jamal sat in his home office, connecting threads on his evidence board. Hospital records, witness statements, billing codes, pieces of a puzzle showing systematic neglect masked by paperwork. His son slept in the bassinet beside his desk. A sharp crack outside jerked him alert. Through the window, he caught the flash of movement near Aisha's car, still parked in the driveway where she'd left it that last night. The smell hit him first. Gasoline. Jamal burst through the front door as a figure in dark clothes raised a lighter. He crossed the distance in 3 strides, tackling the person before the flame could drop. They hit the concrete hard. The attacker was strong, trained. An elbow caught Jamal's ribs. A knee drove up toward his groin. But Jamal had fury on his side. Controlled, focused rage that made his strikes precise and brutal. They grappled on the damp grass. Jamal locked the attacker's arm, twisted until something popped. A pained grunt. Male. The man bucked, trying to throw Jamal off. His jacket rode up, revealing a familiar ID card clipped to his belt. Municipal Maintenance Department. Headlights swept the scene as a police cruiser pulled up. Detective Donovan stepped out, taking his time. "Everything all right here?" Agent Thompson. Donovan's voice dripped false concern. Neighbors reported a disturbance. "This man was attempting arson," Jamal said, maintaining his hold. "I caught him trying to torch my wife's car. Looks to me like you're assaulting a city worker." Donovan smiled thinly. "Let him up. You're going to ignore the gas can right there." "What gas can?" Donovan kicked the container under a bush. "You're making enemies, Thompson. Dangerous ones. Be smart. Focus on your kid instead of chasing ghosts." The attacker scrambled up when Jamal released him, limping to a dark SUV that had appeared silently at the curb. Donovan watched him go, then turned back to Jamal. "Next time we get called out here," he said softly, "things might not end so clean." After they left, Jamal installed security cameras at every corner of the house. He added motion sensors, upgraded the locks, reinforced the windows. In his son's room, he mounted a camera with a direct feed to his phone. That night, he lay on the floor beside the crib, his service weapon within reach. Above him, his son slept peacefully, unaware of the forces gathering around them. Unaware that his father was building a wall of evidence and surveillance to protect him from the people who'd taken his mother, Jamal touched the crib bars gently, feeling the smooth wood beneath his fingers. "I've got you," he whispered. "They won't hurt anyone else. I promise." The abandoned storage facility loomed against the midnight sky, a hulking shadow of corrugated metal and broken windows. Jamal pulled his car behind a rusted shipping container, cutting the engine. His breath fogged in the cold air as he waited, watching. A familiar figure emerged from the darkness. Jax, Blade, Malone, his leather jacket collar turned up against the wind. The former criminal informant moved with the cautious grace of someone used to looking over his shoulder. "You're a hard man to find these days, Fed," Blade said, keeping his distance until he'd checked the surroundings. "Not a Fed right now," Jamal replied. "Badge is suspended." Blade's laugh was sharp and humorless. "That's what makes this interesting. You're calling in favors when you got nothing to trade. I've still got friends in place. Protection's available if the information's good." "Protection?" Blade shook his head. "Man, you don't even know what you're poking at. These people, they've got reach. You wouldn't believe." Jamal stepped closer, his voice low and intense. "They killed my wife, Blade. While I watched, tell me what you know." Something in his tone made Blade study him more carefully. After a long moment, the informant nodded. "Follow me. But if anyone asks, we never had this conversation." They wound through a maze of storage units until they reached a non-e-script door marked maintenance. Inside, ancient fluorescent lights flickered over rows of servers humming in climate-controlled racks. "Hospital's dirty little secret," Blade explained, gesturing at the equipment. "When they need records to disappear during routine migrations, this is where the real data sits. I did some contract work for their IT department off the books, of course." "Who has access?" "That's the beautiful part," Blade said, pulling out his phone. "They think they wiped the login records, but he showed Jamal a screenshot of access timestamps. I keep backups. See these entries? Right after your wife. Show me everything." Jamal interrupted. For the next hour, Blade walked him through the hospital's shadow system, how records were altered, where the originals were stored, which administrators had privileged access. Names and times matched Jamal's timeline perfectly. "This is enough to start building a case," Jamal said. "But I need copies." "Already ahead of you," Blade handed over a small hard drive. "But listen, this goes beyond just the hospital. I've seen municipal accounts, police records, judges' signatures. They've got a whole network. I can protect you," Jamal promised. "I may be suspended, but I've got an AUSA." "Who?" His phone buzzed. A text from Ramirez. "Limited surveillance warrant approved. 48 hours only. Use it wisely." Before he could respond, another message flashed across his screen. This one from an unknown number. Nurse Ruiz found unconscious at home. Memorial Hospital. I have to go, Jamal said sharply. Stay low. I'll contact you through the usual channels. Watch your back, Blade called after him. They don't like loose ends. Jamal broke every speed limit getting to Memorial. He found Maria Ruiz in the bruised and barely conscious. Her house had been robbed. Nothing taken except her phone and laptop. Wasn't random, she managed to whisper when she saw him. Two men knew exactly what they wanted. Did you recognize them? She tried to shake her head, but winced. Professional, careful not to. Her eyes fluttered closed as the morphine took hold. Detective Donovan was already there, leaning against the nurse's station with calculated casualness. Terrible thing, he drawled when he saw Jamal. City's getting dangerous. Even nice neighborhoods aren't safe anymore. Cut the act, Jamal growled. We both know what this is. Careful, Thompson. Donovan's friendly mask slipped for just a moment. Suspended agents shouldn't interfere with active investigations. Bad things happen when people don't mind their own business. Is that what happened to my wife? She didn't mind her own business. Your wife had complications. Tragic, but natural, unlike some other recent events. Donovan straightened his jacket. Think about your kid, Thompson. Some losses you can't come back from. Jamal watched him leave, fury burning cold in his chest. His phone buzzed again. Ramirez, I've got 48 hours of surveillance authorization, she said without preamble. That's it, make it count. I need more time. You need to be careful, she countered. They're sending messages, Jamal. First the car, now Nurse Ruiz. They're escalating. Then we need to move faster. Jamal described what Blade had shown him. The evidence is there, Sophia. We just need to get to it legally. Evidence won't help if you're dead. She paused. Or if someone else gets hurt because you push too hard. Jamal looked through the window at Maria's unconscious form. She'd tried to help to do the right thing, just like Aisha had tried to advocate for herself. The system's response was the same. Swift, brutal silencing. No one else gets hurt, he said quietly. I swear it. How can you promise that? Because I'm done playing by their rules. He touched the hard drive in his pocket. They want to send messages. Fine, let's send one back. Jamal, 48 hours. He cut her off. That's all I need. Have a team ready. He ended the call and went back into Maria's room. A nurse was adjusting her IV, checking the bruises blossoming across her face and neck. I'm sorry, he whispered to her still form. This ends now. No one else pays for their crimes. Through the window, dawn was breaking over the city. Somewhere in that gray light, Thornton was probably sleeping peacefully. Donovan was filing false reports and hospital administrators were crafting their next cover-up. They thought fear and violence would protect their system forever. They were wrong. In 48 hours, Jamal would prove it. He just hoped the price wouldn't be paid in more innocent blood. The marble floors of the federal courthouse echoed with each of Jamal's steps. Morning light streamed through tall windows, casting long shadows across the empty hallway where Asa Sofia Ramirez had spread documents across a wooden bench. These numbers don't lie, Anika Patel whispered, her fingers trembling as she pointed to highlighted sections in the financial records. See these transfers. Every time there's a maternal death under Thornton, donations flow through shell companies into Judge Whitaker's preferred charities. Ramirez nodded, making notes. And the timing matches perfectly with Detective Donovan's overtime approvals and special assignments. Plus, this Anika added, pulling out another spreadsheet. Victoria Langford gets consulting fees from the same shell companies. It's all connected. The delays, the deaths, the cover-ups. They're profiting from it. Jamal studied the paper trail they'd assembled. How many deaths are we talking about? I've confirmed 8 over 3 years, Anika said. All black or brown mothers, all with similar patterns of delayed care and altered records. 8 families, Jamal breathed, thinking of Aisha. 8 lives they threw away. Ramirez began drafting subpoenas, her pen moving with fierce determination. We'll hit them all at once. Hospital records, financial documents, surveillance. Footage, everything. No warning, no time to hide evidence. For the first time in weeks, Jamal felt hope stirring. The pieces were finally coming together. They had proof of the conspiracy. Documentation of the money trail. Witnesses ready to testify. His phone buzzed. A news alert. He paused as he read the hospital's press release. Due to scheduled system upgrades and server migration, some surveillance footage from the past quarter may be temporarily unavailable. They're destroying evidence, he growled, showing Ramirez the screen. We expected this, she said. That's why his phone buzzed again. Another news alert, this one making his hands shake. Sources reveal toxicology report shows substances in deceased mother's system. That's a lie, he snarled. Aisha never. They're trying to poison her reputation. They're scared, Anika said quietly. They know we're close. Ramirez's phone rang. Her face darkened as she listened. What do you mean? Challenged. The subpoenas are properly. She paced the hallway, arguing with someone. No, Your Honor, there's no conflict of yes, I understand, but she ended the call looking grim. Judge Whitaker is blocking our subpoenas. Claims there's insufficient cause and potential conflicts of interest due to your suspension. He's part of it, Jamal said. We have the proof right here. Proof we can't use until we get those subpoenas approved. And every judge we approach will know Whitaker's already denied us. Anika gathered her papers with shaking hands. I should go. If they find out I'm talking to you, we'll protect you. Ramirez assured her, like you protected Nurse Ruiz. Anika's voice was bitter. They put her in the hospital for trying to help. What do you think they'll do to me? Neither Jamal nor Ramirez had an answer. They watched her hurry away, looking over her shoulder with each step. An hour later, Jamal stood at Aisha's grave. The morning's hope had crumbled to ashes in his mouth. Fresh flowers marked where she lay. Roses from her mother who still called daily to check on the baby. I'm sorry, he whispered to the stone. They're burying the truth just like they buried you. Making you look guilty when you were the victim. Wind rustled through nearby trees. In the distance, a groundskeeper's lawn mower droned. I tried doing this the right way, he continued, following procedures, respecting the system. But they own the system. They use it like a weapon, he touched the cold marble. You deserved better. Those other mothers deserved better. And that smug bastard Thornton is still out there, still practicing, still deciding who lives and dies based on the color of their skin. A plan began forming in his mind. Dangerous, probably illegal, but they'd left him no choice. He pulled out his phone and called Ramirez. I need a favor. Jamal, just listen. We know Thornton's pattern. We know how he operates. What if we gave him another chance to show his true colors? What are you suggesting? A decoy patient. Someone presenting with the same symptoms Aisha had. Someone wearing a wire. That's entrapment. It's giving him rope to hang himself. He's arrogant, Sophia. He thinks he's untouchable. Put another black woman in front of him with the same complaints, and he'll do exactly what he did to Aisha. Even if I wanted to help, Ramirez said we'd need authorization for any recording. And after Whitaker's ruling, then we get creative, find a sympathetic judge, call in favors, something. His voice hardened because right now he's in that hospital probably getting ready to kill someone else's wife, someone else's mother, and we're letting it happen. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Ramirez sighed. Give me 24 hours. But Jamal, if we do this, it has to be perfect. By the book. One mistake and they'll bury everything. They already tried burying Aisha. They won't bury the truth. He ended the call and looked at the grave one last time. Thornton thought his position and connections made him invulnerable. That same arrogance would be his downfall. All they had to do was give him another chance to show who he really was. The lawnmower's drone faded. Wind scattered petals from Aisha's roses across the grass. Somewhere in the city, Thornton was probably reviewing patient files, deciding whose pain mattered and whose didn't. Soon he'd have another chance to make that choice. And this time, every word, every dismissal, every cruel calculation would be recorded. The surveillance van's air conditioning hummed as Jamal watched Kendra Hayes approach the hospital entrance through multiple camera feeds. She moved with practiced precision, one hand pressed against her stomach, her face showing just the right amount of distress. Audio check. Ramirez's voice crackled through his earpiece. Receiving clearly, he responded, adjusting the volume. Every rustle from the tiny microphone hidden in Kendra's clothing came through with crystal clarity. Kendra pushed through the doors, her performance flawless, not too dramatic, not too subtle, just a worried pregnant woman seeking help. exactly like Aisha had been. The waiting room buzzed with typical afternoon chaos. A child wailed. Someone coughed. Phones rang at the intake desk. "I need help," Kendra told the triage nurse, her voice trembling perfectly. "Something's wrong. The pain. It's not normal." Jamal's hands tightened on the monitoring equipment. The same words, the same fear. He forced himself to breathe. Blood pressures elevated. A nurse noted 160/95, just like Aisha's had been. They wheeled Kendra to an exam area through her hidden microphone. Jamal heard everything. The beep of monitors, the squeak of rubber-soled shoes, the murmur of voices discussing which doctor was on rotation. "Dr. Thornton's handling OB emergencies today," someone said. "Patient presenting with severe abdominal pain at 32 weeks, another voice reported. Complaining of vision changes and dizziness." Jamal glanced at Ramirez, who was transcribing every word. They'd chosen the symptoms carefully, matching Aisha's case while ensuring Kendra wasn't actually at risk. Dr. Lucas Chen appeared first, the resident who'd been there the night Aisha died. His hesitation was visible even through the grainy security feed. "Let's get a full workup," Chen said, his voice clearer. "Now BP is concerning. We should now." Thornton's familiar voice cut in. "Let's not overreact." Jamal's jaw clenched as Thornton swept into view, radiating the same dismissive confidence he'd shown with Aisha. "Good afternoon," Thornton said to Kendra. "I understand you're feeling anxious." "The pain," Kendra said. "It's like something's tearing and I can't see right. Everything's blurry." Thornton's tone dripped condescension. "First pregnancy." "Yes, but this isn't normal. Something's wrong." "Pain tolerance varies significantly among different demographics," Thornton said. "What you're experiencing is likely stress-related." In the van, Ramirez's pen scratched rapidly across her notepad. Every word was another nail in Thornton's coffin. Her pressure still climbing, Chen interjected. "Protocol suggests." "Thank you, drive." "Chen." Thornton cut him off. "I believe I can assess the situation." Victoria Langford materialized at the nurse's station. Her presence a silent warning to the staff. Through various cameras, Jamal watched her subtle gestures, directing traffic, managing optics, protecting the machine. "Please," Kendra said, "can't you do some tests? An ultrasound?" "Maybe. Let's not waste resources," Thornton replied. "Some quiet rest will help more than unnecessary." "Imaging." Chen shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, given the symptoms and vitals, we should at least drive." "Chen." Thornton's voice hardened. "Perhaps you need a refresher on proper assessment procedures. We can't order expensive tests every time someone gets emotional." The exchange crackled through their headsets with perfect clarity. Ramirez underlined something in her notes. "BP 170/100 now," a nurse called out. Chen straightened his spine. "With respect, drive." Thornton. "Elevated pressure combined with vision changes meets criteria for immediate evaluation." "I'm ordering a protein test and ultrasound." "Absolutely not," Thornton snapped. "I won't have my authority questioned by its protocol." Chen insisted louder now. "I'm documenting my recommendation." The word documenting changed Thornton's demeanor instantly. He knew the power of paper trails. "Fine," he said tightly. "Order your tests. Waste time and resources, but note that I consider this an overreaction to standard discomfort." In the van, Ramirez looked up from her notes. He's repeating the exact pattern, dismissing symptoms, rejecting tests, documenting his objections to cover himself, while pushing the racist subtext that black women exaggerate pain, Jamal added grimly. Through the monitors, they watched Chen efficiently arrange the tests he demanded. Kendra remained perfectly in character, worried, but cooperative, insistent but not combative. "Your pressure's still elevated," Chen told her. "But the initial tests look reassuring. We'll monitor you closely." "Such drama for nothing," Thornton commented loud enough for the microphone to catch. "As I said, anxiety presents differently in certain populations. Perhaps some education on proper prenatal care would be beneficial." The condescension in his voice made Jamal's hands curl into fists, but the rage was tempered by satisfaction. Every word was another piece of evidence. "Patient seems stable," Chen said carefully. "But I'm keeping her for observation." "On your head, be it," Thornton replied. "Document that I advised against unnecessary admission." "Oh, I'll document everything," Chen assured him, his meaning clear to everyone but Thornton. Victoria Langford drifted closer, her practiced smile masking concern. "Dr. Thornton, may I have a word about resource allocation?" "Of course," Thornton replied, "someone needs to maintain standards around here." Their voices faded as they moved away from Kendra's bed, but the microphone caught their retreating conversation. "These people need to learn they can't demand special treatment every time they." Ramirez clicked her pen decisively and turned to Jamal. Her eyes were hard with certainty. "He just confessed," she said quietly. "Not just to this, to everything. The pattern, the prejudice, the deliberate denial of care. We've got him." The garage light cast harsh shadows across the evidence wall as Jamal gently swayed. His sleeping child nestled against his chest. Thornton's recorded voice played through a small speaker, each word dripping with casual cruelty. "These people need to learn. They can't demand special treatment." Jamal pressed a button, rewinding the clip. He'd listened to it 17 times now, memorizing every inflection, every pause that revealed the doctor's true nature. The wall before him was a spider's web of connections, time-stamped photos, financial records, transcribed threats. Red string linked key events, forming a noose that would finally end Thornton's reign of negligence. The baby stirred, tiny fingers clutching Jamal's shirt. He adjusted the blanket, remembering how Aisha used to hum while folding these same soft fabrics, preparing for a future that Thornton stole. His phone buzzed. Ramirez's text was brief. "Warrants drafted. Filing at dawn." A car door slammed outside. Through the garage window, Jamal spotted Detective Donovan's unmarked Crown Victoria idling at the curb. He secured his child in the portable crib tucked behind his desk and switched off the audio playback. The doorbell rang. Jamal took his time answering, letting Donovan stew in the cold night air. "Evening, Agent Thompson," Donovan said when the door finally opened. His smile was practiced, professional, the kind that never reached his eyes. "Got a minute to chat?" "No warrant, no chat," Jamal replied flatly. "Come on now." Donovan's voice stayed friendly, but his stance shifted subtly. A cop's instinct to establish dominance. "Just looking out for your interests here, professional courtesy." "There's nothing professional about this visit." "Listen." Donovan stepped closer, dropping the pretense. "You're pushing buttons that don't need pushing. Making waves that could drown more than just Thornton. Be smart. Think about your kid." Jamal felt ice crystallize in his veins. "Are you threatening my child, detective?" "Of course not." Donovan spread his hands. "Just saying. Life's unpredictable. Accidents happen. Sometimes something permanent changes everything. Would be a shame if your crusade left that baby without both parents." Jamal didn't blink. "You're officially notified that this conversation is being recorded as evidence of attempted witness intimidation under Federal Statute 18 U.S.C. Parf. Would you like to revise your statement?" Donovan's smile vanished. "You think you're clever. You think your badge protects you. This is bigger than you understand." "No," Jamal said quietly. "It's exactly as big as I understand. That's what terrifies you." Donovan retreated to his car without another word. Jamal watched until the tail lights disappeared around the corner, then checked his home security feeds. All cameras operational, all angles covered. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Ramirez, her voice tight with controlled anger. "Whitaker just issued an emergency injunction. He's blocking our subpoenas on procedural grounds." "How long?" 3 days minimum for a hearing. Meanwhile, Langford's legal team is burying us in paperwork. Motion to dismiss. Motion to suppress. Motion to seal. They're trying to drown us in red tape until the pressure fades. Jamal looked at his evidence wall. They're scared. They should be, but they're also connected. Each delay gives them time to bury evidence deeper. Then we change the game. Jamal pulled out his other phone, the one tied directly to the bureau. "Time to call Roth." SAC Emily Roth answered on the second ring. "Thompson, you're still suspended. I need 5 minutes. After that, you can extend my suspension or arrest me. Your choice." A long pause. "Talk fast." Jamal laid it out methodically. The pattern of deaths, the financial connections, the coordinated cover-up. He detailed Donovan's threat, Whitaker's obstruction, Langford's legal barricade. Finally, he played Thornton's recorded confession. "This isn't just about Aisha anymore," he finished. It's about a system that kills black mothers for profit and buries anyone who objects. The Bureau can't look away without becoming complicit. The silence stretched. Jamal could almost hear Roth weighing career preservation against moral certainty. "Send me everything," she said finally. "Every recording, every document, every connection. I'll take it upstairs. Federal jurisdiction, no local involvement. But Thompson, if you're wrong about any of this, I'm not wrong. And I have backups of everything." "Of course you do." Roth sighed. "Stay put. Wait for authorization. Do not engage anyone until we move." "Understood. Understood." Jamal ended the call and turned back to his evidence wall. He photographed every document, scanned every note, uploaded every recording to secure servers, multiple copies, multiple locations. No single point of failure. The baby whimpered softly. Jamal lifted his child, breathing in that perfect newborn scent. "I know, little one," he whispered. "I miss her, too. But tomorrow we start making it right." He settled into the old rocking chair Aisha had chosen, watching security feeds while his child slept. Outside, the night grew deeper. But Jamal didn't sleep. He simply rocked and waited and remembered Aisha's smile as dawn crept closer. Every few minutes, his phone lit up with more notifications. Langford's lawyers filing motions, Donovan's car circling the block, Whitaker's office requesting urgent meetings with federal supervisors. The system was scrambling, desperate to maintain control. Let them scramble, Jamal thought. The truth was already loose. No amount of legal papers or backroom deals could cage it again. The armored vans hummed in the pre-dawn darkness, their black shapes lined up like waiting predators. Condensation purled on bulletproof glass as agents moved with practiced efficiency, checking gear and synchronizing communications. The staging area, a converted warehouse lot, bristled with tactical equipment and federal authority. Sace Emily Roth stood straight back near the command vehicle, her expression carved from stone. When Jamal approached, she held out his badge without ceremony. "Agent Thompson," she said formally, "you are hereby reinstated to active duty." Effective immediately, she paused, then added in a lower voice, "The Bureau failed you. We should have acted sooner." Jamal accepted his credentials, the familiar weight settling against his chest like armor. "Thank you, ma'am." "Don't thank me." Roth's eyes hardened. "Make it count." Inside the command vehicle, Jamal's evidence board had been recreated digitally across multiple screens. Red markers highlighted target locations while timestamps scrolled past in real time. A USA Ramirez sat at the communication station coordinating with support teams. "Teams are in position," she reported, not looking up from her monitors. "Annika's feeding is server locations now." Jamal studied the tactical overlay. 7 primary targets. The hospital's off-site storage facility, 3 billing vendor offices, the administration building, and personal residences belonging to Thornton and Langford. Each location represented a piece of the puzzle they'd fought so hard to assemble. "All teams, sound off," Roth commanded. The responses came rapid fire. Alpha team ready at storage facility. Bravo team positioned at billing office 1. Charlie team covering hospital approach. Delta team. Jamal watched the pieces align, remembering all the nights he'd spent connecting these same dots while his child slept nearby. Now the full weight of federal law enforcement stood ready to validate every conclusion, every suspicion, every truth he'd protected. Annika Patel's voice crackled through secure channels. Primary server room confirmed in sub. Backup arrays in offices 3 and 4. They're running constant purge cycles, trying to wipe everything. "Too late for that," Ramirez muttered, typing commands. "Mirroring programs are already in place. Every deletion creates a backup we can track." The first rays of sunrise painted the sky in shades of promise as Roth gave the execute order. Across the city, federal agents moved with synchronized purpose. Doors burst open, warrants were served, evidence was secured, live feeds filled the command screens. At the storage facility, agents discovered recently shredded documents, but the pieces were salvageable. In the billing offices, computers whirred with active deletion programs that only preserved more proof of guilt. At Langford's house, a hastily lit fire in the backyard still smoldered. Half-burned papers containing patient names fluttering in the morning breeze. "First footage recovery coming in," announced a text specialist. Timestamp matches Nurse Ruiz's note exactly. Jamal leaned forward as hospital security footage filled the main screen. The images were crystal clear. Thornton manually silencing alarms, dismissing staff concerns, delaying critical care. Each frame validated Maria's courage in speaking up. Each second of video transforming memory into evidence. Got the access logs? Another analyst called out. Multiple manual overrides of monitoring equipment. All tied to Thornton's credentials. Pattern spans 3 years, focuses on minority patients, correlates with billing adjustments. Afterward, more data poured in. Financial records showed payments flowing between shell companies tied to hospital administrators and local officials. Email chains revealed careful coordination to bury complaints and silence witnesses. Everything Jamal had suspected, everything he'd pieced together through grief and determination was being confirmed in high-resolution detail. "Sir," a junior agent approached with a tablet. "You should see this." The screen showed security footage from Maria Ruiz's robbery. Clear images of 2 men, one wearing a contractor badge identical to those found in the hospital parking garage, breaking in and attacking her. No theft, just violence meant to silence. "Facial recognition is already running," the agent said. "We've identified one suspect as former police, currently employed by a security firm contracted to the hospital." Jamal nodded unsurprised. The system protected itself through layers of deniable connections until those layers were stripped away. Teams report evidence secured at all primary locations. Roth announced no deletions successful. No data lost. Ramirez looked up from her station. A fierce satisfaction in her eyes. They really thought they could bury this. All of it, everyone they hurt, everyone they silenced. They got used to power, Jamal said quietly. Started believing their own lies. The command vehicle hummed with activity as data streams converged into an irrefutable narrative. Patient records, security footage, financial transactions, communication logs. Each piece strengthened the others, creating a foundation too solid to shake. "Hospital Administrator Langford is in custody," reported Charlie Team. No resistance found her attempting to access sealed files in her office. "Billing office principals detained," added Bravo Team. "Multiple servers seized. Chain of custody maintained." Jamal watched the feeds, feeling a weight lift from his chest with each confirmation. The truth wasn't fragile anymore. It wasn't trapped in his grieving memories or buried in manipulated records. It was documented, duplicated, distributed across secure federal servers. They couldn't make it disappear. A priority alert flashed across the main screen. Ramirez straightened in her chair, hand pressed to her earpiece. "Confirmation from hospital security," she announced. "Dr. Reginald Thornton has been located. He's in the East Wing, 3rd floor, conducting morning rounds." The room stilled. Every eye turned to Jamal. "He doesn't know yet," Roth said softly. "He's still playing doctor, still thinking he's untouchable." Sunlight streamed through the hospital's glass entrance, casting long shadows across the busy lobby. Patients filled plastic chairs, flipping through old magazines and checking phones. A local news crew had already set up near the information desk, their camera trained on the entrance. A tip about breaking developments, bringing them like sharks to blood in the water. The first hint, something was different, came from the security guards. They straightened suddenly, hands dropping to radios that had gone mysteriously silent. Then the front doors swung wide. Federal agents moved in smooth formation, badges displayed, purpose radiating from every step. No sirens, no shouting, no dramatics. Just the quiet authority of justice finally arriving. Patients looked up from their phones, conversations dying mid-sentence as more agents appeared from side entrances, securing exits with practiced efficiency. On the 3rd floor, drive, Reginald Thornton stood in an examination room reviewing a chart with the same dismissive confidence he'd always wielded. His white coat was pristine, his posture perfect, his entire being radiating the untouchable superiority that had let him decide who deserved care and who could wait. "As I was saying," he told his patient, "these concerns seem rather premature." The door opened. 2 agents in tactical gear stepped in, followed by 3 in suits. Badge flashes caught the fluorescent light. "Dr. Reginald Thornton," the lead agent, announced, "you are under arrest." Thornton's FAC.